Opinions expressed here are those of the individual, not necessarily those of Narcotics Anonymous.
Welcome back. My name's Lolita.
And I'm Leah. And if you're watching for the first time, we launched this page to discuss some recovery-related topics, some self-help tips, and other things that we think are important in our recovery. This is week 2 of our series of 7 habits of highly effective people. And habit 2 is begin with the end in mind.
First, if you haven't been following, we do have the first video up, and
That's right.
That habit is being proactive. There's also a challenge in that video. So if you want to know about the first habit, go watch the first video.
Yeah, and stay tuned through the entire video this time because we will be presenting another challenge.
Challenge!
Yay!
If you like challenges, you should love challenges. Self-help challenges.
There you go.
Yes.
It makes you better.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Okay, so begin with the end in mind.
Begin with the end in mind. Well, what does that mean? Well, we have lots to know. Duh.
So habit 2, begin with the end in mind.
So what does that mean? That means understanding where you're going and where you want to be, right? So being able to see kind of where you are now, and when you know where you need to go or want to go, you can take the steps necessary to get there.
Right. So we'll be going over Stephen Covey's perfect formula, right, of how to get where you're going. So he first outlines it by basically, he breaks it up into the creative process, which he says those principles look like leadership and management. So what that means is there are 2 parts to creating a plan or accomplishing a goal, but more or less creating a plan. So leadership is what is your plan, and then management is the action steps that you have to take. So the 2 questions that you need to ask yourself is, where am I going? And then what are the necessary steps to accomplish my goals?
Those goals.
Right.
Exactly. Absolutely. A really good way to do that is by writing a personal mission statement. And that allows you to see exactly where you can go and who you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So some of the things he talks about too is being able to incorporate your values and your principles, right? So a mission statement is exactly, again,
Keeping that in line.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, really keeping that in line. So he really breaks it down what writing your personal mission statement looks like and how to do that effectively. So I think it's important for us to just tell you what he says.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. I think that's a great thing. So he does bring up the circle of influence, which is, if you
First
watched
video.
last week, you would know what I'm talking about. So that's really important, right? So to know what you do have control over, to know what is within your influence.
Right.
But then he also breaks it down into 4 factors, which I think are really cool. So the first one being security. And the way he describes that is your sense of worth, identity. Right? So truly knowing who you are.
Not being secure in other people or other
Right.
things, but being secure in who you are.
And I think that comes from your morals
100%.
and your values and your principles and the things that you find dear and the things that you love most and value most, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The second one is guidance. So it's talking about your direction in life, which I think is so great.
Where are you going?
Where are you going? And it even says this down here. It says, a concise expression of your innermost values and directions. So really, really powerful stuff. I think, you know, exactly having a map. It's your roadmap, right? A mission statement is kind of like a roadmap. So knowing exactly who you are and, again, where you're going.
Yeah.
Right.
What you want to do.
Right.
The
What
impact
do you
and
wanna
change
do?
that you want to make
Exactly.
in the world.
Exactly. Leaving a legacy.
Yes.
And then the third one is wisdom. So this is your perspective on life, a sense of balance, judgment, discernment, comprehension.
Which ties into the circle of influence.
Right, absolutely. Yep. And I mean, for us, you know, a big thing that we get to do is share our experience.
Yes.
Which hopefully brings wisdom, right? Because we learn. But that's huge. You know, having that to then provide for others is providing wisdom.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Absolutely. And then power. And that's the faculty or capacity to act, the strength and potency to accomplish something.
So that is your action.
Right. Yes. And I think that's even your will.
Which we all have that in us, you
Right.
know? And using this mission statement as, like you said, like a roadmap, and take your mission statement, and this is something that's supposed to evolve. So as you evolve and you find that you're more capable of things, then you're supposed to go back to your mission statement and correct it where it needs to be corrected, which is like the whole
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I mean, he even said here it could take a really long time to write it. I mean, I think that just getting it down is really, really important. And like she said, as time goes, we're ever evolving people. We're always changing, you know, and your path may change. But it's important to at least know when you're striving for something, what that thing is.
And this mission statement isn't supposed to be something that you write and then throw it in your drawer and then you're done with it. Like, you keep this with you and you make your decisions based on this. So it just keeps you in alignment. So what are some things that could deter you possibly? And he goes over this. So what he calls are like alternative centers, right? Well, these things can still be important, but you have your principal centers and then you have your alternative centers. So we'll just kind of touch on that too.
Yeah, so some of the things he talks about are family centeredness, spouse centeredness,
money,
relationship, money. So again, like she said, it's not wrong to have these drives or these things that you strive for. That's not the problem. It's when it becomes your only focus,
that tunnel vision,
then you get out of whack.
Yeah.
Right? He also talks about work-centeredness and possession-centeredness, right? So materialistic things becoming basically your idol.
Which I know in recovery, which I'm going to assume probably everybody watching this or most of you guys watching this are in recovery. So that's a really good thing that you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on. I know for me early in recovery, I was, you know, I can get swept into like buying things and like keeping that my focus, right?
Yes.
You know, but I think if you go back to the first principle and you really start to understand yourself and understand what's in your control and make sure that you're navigating that way, then you have a really good idea of how to take care of yourself with that security piece. And then you're less apt to your focus being deterred with these alternative centers.
Absolutely. I think that that's a great point. Seriously. They even have pleasured centeredness, which, that was a huge focus, a huge thing that I know, you know, a huge part of my using was to seek pleasure, to feel different, to feel better, right? And then they even have stuff like friend-centeredness, enemy-centeredness, church-centeredness. So I think it's crazy that, you know, we can get so wrapped up and involved in others and allowing, you know, either their problems or their drama or even their happiness to kind of become ours. And we lose sight of the most important thing. And then the last one is self-centeredness, right? So when I think about this, when I think about where am I focused most, you do have to have recovery first, is what we say, right? Recovery first, or you'll lose everything you put in front of it. So to some people, they talk about being self-centered, right? Well, you have to be selfish in recovery. But
it's not that tipping point. There's a fine line. And if you are working a first step and working really a second and third step, and you're able to kind of walk that line, but we're supposed to keep ourselves accountable, right? With our who we surround ourselves with.
Right, absolutely. And I was going to say too, because I want to make sure I make this clear, we can't be selfish in our recovery. No. We're selfish in our addiction.
Which is why we're doing this.
Right, exactly. It's all about giving back, man. But the thing is, we have to preserve ourselves. So we have to protect ourselves and we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're not selfish in the fact that we only think of ourselves. Right? So self-centeredness is a huge one. So the whole goal here is to be principle-centered. And that's why it's so important to know your principles, to know your morals, to know who you are, so you can have that principle-centeredness. And the cool thing he said too is principles don't change.
They don't.
Right?
I teach my kids this. My son, it was earlier in the year, he got in a scuffle with another child, and he ended up having to do Saturday school. Now he's young, okay, 3rd grade. And we went over our fundamental values as a family. And that was the assignment that I gave him. And so we had that conversation because it's important to know what your values are. And then once you know, okay, these fundamental values are true to me, and if you can keep that in the forefront of your mind, then the decisions that you make in your life should reflect that.
Right.
And
absolutely.
if you have that, well, it'll work the other way around, right? So if you know what your values are, then you can make decisions according to your values.
Exactly. And if you know who you are, nobody can tell you different. right? So no one can come in and call you a name or tell you you're not good enough, because you know who you are and you'll believe in yourself so strongly.
Yeah.
And no one can shake you. No one can stop you. No one can make you feel bad about yourself.
That's liberating. It's so much freedom in that.
Freedom. That's the freedom right there. Freedom.
Okay.
Okay, so like I said, principles are never changing. All those other things we talked about, money and spouses and friends, that is all changing. That could change in an instant.
Yeah.
So now I have my whole everything in this person or in money or in materialistic things, and then it goes. Then what?
Then what?
Then I'm left with nothing. Right? So that's why it's so important to build up yourself, to know who you are, to build your life around principles.
Write your mission statement, know where you're going so you don't lose focus.
Right.
And watch your life flourish.
Be magical.
Amazing. So we're going to challenge you guys to write a mission statement.
Yep. Take some time, write some things out. And again, going back to what you want to be and what you want to do and
Where you're going. Exactly. Yes. Where you want to go.
Exactly. Where you want to go in.
Yes. And if you are going to participate in the challenge, we really encourage you to do so. Drop something in the comments. Let us know that you're participating. And yeah. Oh, also, we are going to have a speaker come on, a guest speaker, share her story. Really powerful. And so I will drop some more information in the group and on the page. That'll be, I think we're recording tomorrow or Friday. So it'll be coming soon.
Yay!
Yay! All right. Thanks guys for watching.
Bye.
Bye.